nobody is the monopoly of knowledge. So everyone will have one or two things to contribute. Like I said, I believe I'm talking with, professionals and all people with experience, with expertise and all that and all that. So it's going to be participatory. The class is going to be so participatory today. Everyone is going to talk. I won't do the talking alone. Everyone will talk so that at least we learn from each other. All right, so without wasting time, I'll try to share my screen so that we can see. So let me bring in my, all right. All right, so I'll be sharing my screen now. While we wait for the screen to load. Apologies, please. I'm trying to launch the screen now. There's a little technical issues.
Vou lá se machar não, Gongo. Já tá me faz.
Even white spot here. Please hold on. I'm having a little technical issue, please. Apologies. Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen?
No, we can't see anything. No.
I can't see the screen. I don't really know exactly what is happening. Okay, so so that we don't end up wasting so much time, please, I would start while trying to share the screen, or another option is I share it to the management so they can share the screen from their end. I don't know what is going on, so I'm really, really, really sorry for this, please. Okay, so today we are going to we are talking on procurement material. You know, when we talk about project management, and you can't really do away with procurement. So we've seen that procurement is actually the process, you know, or that is necessary to purchase or acquire a product, services, or results needed from, you know, from outside the project team. So when we talk of procurement, a layman will always, you know, to maybe talk about just the materials, maybe the machines and all that. But in this case, we are talking about the services, the products, the purchase, the process that is necessary to purchase or acquire products, either services, or results needed from outside the project team. Okay, so we are looking at, and we'll be looking at the guiding principles. We've seen what procurement is all about. The necessary is a process. When you talk about procurement, it's actually a process. It's not something that you can just wake up and say, oh, we just need to do this, we need this. It's something that you need to, you know, take time, think about it, and not just, procurement is not just the primary function, it's not just a function or the sole responsibility of a project manager. When you talk about a system that has process, of course, you know that you have to, you know, pass through phases before you can actually get to a point where the actual, you know, procurement is actualized. So we've seen that we've seen that this has the guiding principles. And when you talk of procurement, because it has to do with process, it's a contract, kind of. It's a contract that brings both the people that, or the company that is there, that you are actually, you know, looking out for purchases of the products or the services or the machines. Generally, we call it materials, okay, that you need for that project management. I mean, you need for that project. And then there are contracts that are formal and legally binding between a buyer and a seller. So you can't just, as a project manager or a company that is handling a particular project, you can't just go into, oh, let's just get this, let's just get this. It has to be a contract. It has to be a contract. And what do I mean by being a contract? They are formal, they have to be a formal and legal binding between a buyer and a seller. And you must also, it's also a contract because it can be simple or it can be complex. So that is why you need the formal and the legal binding. So you also see that all requirements, we talk of the product and the project itself, should be specifically spelled out in the contract. So you don't go into procurement just like I said earlier. You don't just go because, oh, you feel like you need this, you just jump into it. No, all the specifications has to be spelled out. It has to be spelled out. All right. So if concluded in the contract, it must be done. But when you are coming together, it's just like when you want to enter an agreement with someone for a business. It can be individual, it can be organization, it can be companies. It has to be accepted by the two parties. You that is planning for procurement and the person that is in charge of supplying, there have to be a conclusion, there have to be an agreement. All right. So until that agreement is done, is accepted by both parties, before you can conclude that procurement, as far as project is concerned, is done. So if not in the contract, that means if not in the contract, what I mean, if not in the contract, if there's no conclusion in the contract, it does mean that it doesn't need to be. So we look at that. Still on the guiding principles of procurement, we look at the formal change. That is the only way to add or remove items from the contract. It has to be formal. Now you've entered an agreement, you've said, oh, this is what I want. You've gone to the end, okay, almost to supply, and then you suddenly, a change suddenly come up, for a change, for something to be taken out of, for some other things to be brought in. It has to also go back to the process, and it has to be done formally. So it could be changed. The changes must be in writing. All right. So contracts should reduce project risk. Now, if you say you need machines, you need products, you need services for a project, why? Why do you need this? Why should this be so? Why do you need it? Why do you need people to work? Why do you need products? Why do you need materials? Why do you need machines? Why do you need to purchase machines for a particular contract? Maybe you are building, you have a road contract, a road project rather. Why do you need to procure machines? Why did you need to procure products? Why did you need to bring in people? Why? Because it has to reduce the project's risk. So most contracts are backed by the government, which provides a court process for dispute resolution. We've seen this one now. It has to be backed up by the government. We are talking of the high standard project that is done, and you can't just go in. There must be a backup by the government, which will provide a court process for this in case there's any dispute, so that the resolution will be, will be better. So we are talking of project management team role in procurement. What is the role that the project management or the manager or the management team would have to play? So, they know that the procurement process seeks support. You have to know the procurement process. All right, that's the role. And after knowing the procurement process, you need to seek support early enough from the specialists in contracting, in purchasing, in law, and in technical discipline. What does this mean? Now, as a project manager or as a project team, you don't just assume, oh, this project is me, I'm in charge of this project. We've seen cases like that where people will say, yes, I'm in charge. You cannot tell me what to do. You cannot tell me what service to bring in. You cannot tell me what material to procure. I am the project manager. No. Primarily, project manager's role is not procurement, is entirely different. But you have to come in and see. That is where you need experts. For example, you have a project that you need maybe like chemicals, to do. And you need chemicals, maybe project that has to do with chemical and all that. Of course, there you need a chemist or a chemical engineer. There you will need a quality assurance officer or manager, so that as you are aware as a project manager that, oh yes, we need to procure these chemicals for this project, but you don't have the knowledge in chemicals. You were not trained as a chemical engineer. You were not trained even as you should, as a matter of necessity. As a project manager, you should have an idea of quality assurance, but you are not trained specifically on that line. So you need all the other technical disciplines, you need other expertise, you need other experiences, other specialists to come in. Like I use like a chemical as an example. You need a chemical engineer to test the standard, the quality of that is this actually what we need? We need the quality assurance person there to check, oh, this is to the standard, this as as passed or is of the standard that is needed. So as a project management team, when it comes to procurement, your role is to know the procurement process. You are to seek support early from specialists in contracting, in purchasing, in law. Of course, you can't talk about when it comes to contract, like I said, is a binding agreement. You need binding agreement. You need a lawyer. You need somebody that is there, that is specializes in law. That's when you have a lawyer brought in. And don't also forget that we have different kinds of lawyers. Some are for property, some are for different. So you need to know the one that is, specializes in project management when it comes to whatever, materials you are to use. All right. So you need all these specialists in contracting, in purchasing, in law, and in technical disciplines. So your involvement should begin at the start of the procurement process. There's nothing like I wasn't there. I'm just a project manager. Oh, I am not in charge of procurement. No, as a project manager, you have to be involved from the beginning of the process before procurement is done. So, and understanding contract terms and conditions. You need to understand contract terms and conditions so that you don't end up, signing what will put you into trouble tomorrow. Of course, in a contract, immediately you sign it, you have the law representative signing it, you have the other party sign, you sign. It means that the contract is binding. It's legally binding. There's nothing like, I did not know. There's nothing like, oh, I don't think I really understood this before I signed. After your signature is pinned, the procurement is set to happen. And you cannot, if peradventure what is supplied or the services that is brought in, the products that are brought in are not what you envisage at that point, because you've already signed, there's no going back. So for this not to happen, you need to understand contract terms and conditions. So ensure the contract contains all project management requirements and scope for the product or services being procured. So ensure the contract contains all project management requirements. Of course, we know that before you start a project, the first step, the preliminary, investigation, all those, you coming together, bringing in the stakeholders, specifying, all what you have in your project charter, everything, the contract must contain all the project management requirements and scope for the product or services being procured. All right. So you also need to, as a project manager, you also need to identify risk and incorporate ways to avoid it. Incorporate ways to avoid the risk. Incorporate ways to mitigate the risk. Incorporate, transfer to sellers or share the potential risk within the contract. So identification of risk is very paramount, as well as incorporation of ways to avoid the risk. So you need to see beyond that you are just signing a paper. Let me just sign. We need to start be driven by, even if it's your you have past experiences, remember that all projects are not the same. All right. So the risks and the ways of handling the risks of the previous projects you must have handled, it would definitely not be the same with a new project. So at every new project, you need to identify the risks and incorporate ways to avoid, to mitigate, transfer to seller, or share the potential risk within the contract as far as procurement in project management is concerned. All right. So we are still on the role of the PM's team when it comes to procurement. So we are saying that as a project manager, when it comes to procurement, they fit the schedule for completion of the procurement process into the schedule for the project. You have to fit in the schedule for completion of the procurement. You don't just work, oh, you have a road contract or a road project. I don't know why I'm using contract, a road project, and you're working. Oh, you need cement, you need machines, you need people, you need services, you need people that will supply water, you need everything. And then you don't also put this into the schedule. You just, okay, when we get to, like, we have 5 kilometers road to a project to, to build. And you get to, when you are getting to, okay, maybe what we have this, oh, it will take this water, okay, don't worry, this number of water tankers will save us, for the mixture of the cement and other things. And then you get to the middle of the project, you say, you did not pay for this, you did not pay for this, and you start running helter-skelter. So you need to fit the schedule for completion of the procurement process. You need to fit in, at what point do we need a particular service? At what point do we need a particular project? At what point do we need? So you need to fit the schedule for completion of procurement process into the schedule for the project, so that you don't run out of time. All right. So the PM's team role in procurement also is that you have to be engaged during contract negotiation to establish a relationship with the seller. Very important. Now, in establishing the relationship with the seller, you don't just jump in, oh, we have someone there that supplies a particular material, and you jump, oh, let's just go there, let's just go. No. Have you talked about the integrity of the seller? Have you talked about the experience of the seller? Have you talked about even the years? Of course, that's what I mean by experience. Have you, the integrity, the dignity, the honor, everything must be seen in that seller. For you to be, of course, even in our daily, in our individual relationship, there are things you look out for. There are qualities, there are characteristics that you look out for, even in our individual relationship, in our human relationship. So when it comes to, projects, it's almost the same thing. Though in this regard, you are not dealing with as personal, So you need to be engaged during contract negotiation to establish a relationship. You look out for this. Is this person trustworthy? Not after you have made payment for a purchase or for procuring a particular service or product. At the end, oh, we are so sorry. Can you just give us 5 more days? And you are in the middle of the project, you get stuck. So as a project manager, you need to be engaged during contract negotiation to establish a relationship with the seller. All right, when it comes to procurement, you don't just say, oh, they say this one can do this one can do this. You need to, there must be a relationship. For example, you can start a project and, like, you don't have all the finance or the money at hand to pay for a particular project. But with relationship, you know, you can say, okay, can you give us, okay, just give us, maybe your bill is maybe 100 million. You can say, okay, at the moment I have 50 million. Okay, the seller can say, okay, like, okay, let me give you, because I know you, let me give you, you can pay 50%, then in 3 months you come and balance, you know, balance up. If there was no relationship, this cannot, it cannot happen. It's not possible, because there's no trust, there's no integrity. The person won't trust you enough to say, okay, at the point stated, that he or she will see his or her money. All right. So that's where relationship is. We've heard of, maybe especially the way we have fluctuating economy when it comes to prices of things, in using Nigeria as an example now, Nigerian economy. Like, maybe I've actually explained or experienced where someone got bags of cement for something like 100 at the price, I think it was then either 560 or thereabout, and paid some, and so, okay, in 3 months I'm going to balance up, paid some money down, so, okay, I'm going to balance and all that. Before you know, the next 1 or 2 months, the price of cement skyrocketed. All right. And because there was a relationship, that either it will be further negotiated, that, okay, you see, now if you have paid me, I would have been able to procure, or, you know, get my stock back, but now my money was tight in your hand. Okay, can you add, maybe add out of the amount that is the price that is added, can you add a particular ratio to this, so that at least I don't actually run out of a loss and all that. You can't negotiate this if there wasn't a relationship. So that is why I am taking my time to, you know, to explain this. So you have to be engaged during contract negotiation to establish a relationship with the seller. You also have to manage the entire project, not just the contract statement of work. We know that you manage the whole project, you manage the procurement, in as much as you are not a procurement manager, but you need to also manage that, because as a project manager, every other department is working under you. So you also have to work with the contract or procurement manager. Of course, I've already said that the contract manager is different, the procurement manager is different, but you are a project manager, so you have to work with them to manage contracts, change control. Very important, very important. Remember that you can't just change, you can't do any modification to the contract that has been signed without a process. So with your involvement, with you working together and all this, remember, before you can even add or remove, it's also a process. So you need all these people, you know, together, so that you'll be able to, you know, make it happen seamlessly without any breaching of contract, so that you also be able to be in charge, be in control, you know, of every change that is made. So we now look at planned procurement. What do we mean by planned procurement? I hope everyone is hearing me. I'm not just talking to myself. Can I get a feedback, please?
Yes, I can hear you loud and
I
clear.
hear you.
Okay, and you're hearing me, my audio is okay. I was just talking, I didn't hear anything, so I assume I was just on, you know, by
because
myself.
we were asked to mute now.
We are muted.
All right. Okay, can I go on?
Yes.
All right. So we now move on to planned procurement. We are saying, we are asking ourselves, what is planned procurement? And at this point, I will need someone to speak, so that I really know that I'm talking with people that are listening and are following. So does anybody understand what planned procurement is?
Planned procurement, to me, is a process of obtaining goods, supplies, and materials for services required for a project, something like that.
Okay. And may I know who just spoke?
Ambassador Precious.
Okay. Can I have some other person speak on that?
Recording in progress.
Can I have some other person speak on that? Hello? Can I have someone speak on that? One other person.
It's like some of them are having network problems.
Okay.
Mm.
So if you know you are not having any network problem, can I hear you talk? I just need a feedback. That is what training and facilitating is all about.
Okay, planned procurement is a process of identifying requirements and also determining the time frames for procurement with the aim of having the items and the services when they are required.
Okay. That's very perfect. May I know who just spoke?
My name is Teso Anaka.
Okay, Teso. All right.
Yes.
Thank you so very much. Okay, so planned procurement is, like we've all said, is a process of documenting project purchasing decisions, specifying the approach, and identifying potential sellers. So that is planned procurement, process of documenting project purchasing decisions. Now, you've decided that you need this, you need that services, that product, that machine, as far as this project is concerned, you've documented that. And the decision that, oh, we actually need this, you now specify the approach. How do we go about it? Do we get these products locally or internationally? Do we get it from a company or an individual as individual seller? All right, that is also documented. And then you go about identifying the potential sellers. All right. So in inputs, you look at the scope baseline, you look at the requirement documentation, you look at teaming agreements, you look at risk register, which I know we've talked about this in the previous modules. We look at risk-related contract decisions, and we look at activity resource requirements. We look at project scheduling. We look at activity cost estimates. All right, that's when we talk about the input. What should we have in the plan procurement? So those are the things. When we talk of the input, that is what we say. We look at the cost performance baseline, the enterprise environmental factors, the organizational process, assets, and all that. And so when we talk of the tools and techniques, we look at make or buy analysis. We look at expert judgment. We look at contract types. We look at expert judgment. And when we talk of output, we look at the procurement management plan. We look at procurement statement of work. We look at make or buy decision. And we look at procurement documents. We look at source selection criteria. And we look at change requests. Okay, so we'll be taking this as we can. We look at the planned procurement, the inputs. So this describes the need, the justification, and the requirement for the project, and is inclusive of the following when we talk of the scope statement. So the scope statement should contain the description of services. It should also be a list of deliverables, the acceptance criteria, and important information regarding technical issues that could impact cost estimating. So that is the scope statement. What we know what the statement is all about. What should that contain when it comes to planned procurement? It must contain the description of service. What do you need? What product do you need? The list of the deliverables. The acceptance criteria. Why did we accept this service? Why do we accept? Why would we accept this product? And we also look at the important information regarding technical issues that could impact cost estimating. Important technical issues, like I mentioned earlier, is it the price inflation, the inflation, the quality of the products, of the services and all that, and then the cost issues, we put them together. So we look at providing the relationship among all the components of the project and deliverables. And we look at providing detailed statement of work that provide an identification of the deliverables and a description of the work within each component required to produce each deliverables. All right. So we look at requirement documents. These are the information about the project that is required during planning for procurement. And what are these requirements? We talk about the projects and requirement within contractual and legal implications. So you look at this agreement that we are entering into, what is the legal implications? If you are breaching the agreement, what is the legal implications? So you look at all this. And you also talk about teaming agreement. The legal agreement between two or more entities to form a partnership, joint ventures, or other arrangement as defined by the parties. That's what we are talking about. I'm just reading through this because I know we've known this already. So you look at the risk register. Look at, this should include risk-related information. You know, when you are able to identify risk. The risk owners, where is the risk coming from? Where did it emanate from? And the risk mitigation and responses. When we have risk, what is the mitigation like? And what is supposed to be the responses? So we look at risk-related contract decision. We see that this should include agreement related to insurance, bonding, services, and other items as appropriate that are prepared to specify each party's responsibility. So these are just what we need to look at. All right. Because we've already said that in procurement, it is a process that has to do with legal binding, that has to do with agreement from both parties. So all these ones are being inculcated when it comes to the planned procurement. The input that we should have is what we are reading out. So we look at the activity resource requirement. So this should contain information as specific needs, such as people, equipment, or location. Project schedule should contain information on timelines or mandated deliverables date. We look at activity cost estimates, which are used to evaluate the reasonableness of the bids or proposals received from potential sellers. Of course, you would have sent us information like, oh, we need this, we need this. So companies are coming to bid, you know, for propose, you know, for the services or for the products, for the machines, for the deliverables and all that. So you need to look at the cost estimates. So your activity cost estimate is used to evaluate the reasonableness of the bids or proposals. Now, how much did you put in place that, okay, this is how much we are going to spend on products or machines, so that when the bid and the biddings and the proposals will come in. You'll be receiving them from the potential. You also know how to estimate your costs. You would not have estimated 100 million for your product, for your services, for your machines. And then a bidder, a potential seller is coming in, with a proposal of 200 million. Of course, they will always come like that. Some will come lower. So you look at your estimates, to determine your procurement. We also look at the cost performance baseline, which must provide details on the planned budget over time. So we look at enterprise environmental factors that can influence the planned procurement processes, such as the condition of the marketplace and what products, services, and results are available from the marketplace, from whom and under what condition. I've already explained this earlier. You look at the condition of the marketplace, you look at the products, you look at the services, you look at where are you even getting it from, who are you even getting it from, and under what terms and conditions are you having this. So that's the enterprise environmental factors. The marketplace, when you talk about the marketplace and what products, the prices. Then the organizational process assets. So this must provide the existing formal and informal procurement related policies, procedures, guidelines, and management systems that are considered in developing the procurement management plan and selecting the contract types to be used. So we look at make or buy analysis. Now, I need someone to explain this to us. What is make or buy analysis when it comes to procurement? Are we together? Make or buy analysis. What's your understanding? Anyone can talk.
Really, if I may hear you very well, say make and buying.
Analysis, make and buy.
Make and buy. I think that has to do with the product itself or the material. I don't know, but I'm looking at when you say make, what product or who the maker of the product, what is the name or the producer of the product before you can go ahead. See, so I make everything available, all the requirement and all the search you need to do to know before you can go ahead with purchases.
Okay. Okay, that's number one from Ambassador Precious. Okay, can I have some other person speak on that?
Good morning, everyone.
Hello.
Good morning,
Morning.
Mr. Victor.
Yeah, in procurement, we have outsourcing. There are things we outsource for some reasons, and there are things we do for ourselves for some reasons. In HSC, which I'm a professional in that area, there is what we call risk transfer. You have risk avoidance, you have risk transfer. Sometimes when you look at the risks involved in providing a certain service, you may want to contract it out. If you look at some costs and the overheads that may not be predictable, you may want to outsource it and have another person take care of the risks and all the stress involved, and you just pay while you manage them, as your contractors. So
Okay.
what I think is make or buy analysis is you analyzing the bottom line at the end of the day, the risk involved, and everything, and see how it's going to benefit you, either to make it by yourself, to provide the services by yourself, That means
Well.
hire people to do it, or you are a source and pay them to do that for you.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Thank you so much. So make and buy analysis. We've all spoken well. That is why I was saying, as if I knew from the beginning, I was actually speaking with specialists in the building.
Can I say something?
Oh yeah, you can go ahead, Mr. Solomon.
Well, make and buy analysis can also be described as indirect and direct costs. It's also
Okay.
indirect, can be, yes. A direct one can be out-of-pocket cost. While yes, it can be out-of-pocket cost. You know, we are also in projects and we know the way things are purchased. It can be out of, and it can be also how to manage the purchasing process. So when we look at it, there are some things we can actually buy from our float in the site, while some also we need to manage and plan for it. I think that's my little contribution. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Do we have any other person that wants to speak on that? Okay, so
Yeah,
can I contribute, please?
Yes, please. You can.
Okay, so when we talk about make or buy analysis, we are trying to find out, like the third speaker said, trying to know, analyzing the advantages and disadvantages of making the product by yourself or buying it from a supplier. Now, you can outsource make or buy, and you can also decide to use members of your team to develop such products, provided they have the expertise, the machineries, the equipment, technology, and every other thing. So it is a decision that is reached, by the procurement manager in line with the project manager to analyze the profits or the losses that will be attributed to buying or making a certain product by themselves. Before this is done, there must be a proper analysis. Do we have the wherewithal in terms of finance? Do we have the technology? Do we have the manpower and every other thing? Once such a decision is made, then it's advisable we make it ourselves. It's not advisable, let our sources to another supplier. So that is what make or buy analysis entails. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. We've all spoken well. I always like holistic examples when we are on trainings like this, so that it will further broaden our understanding. Now, can someone just give us a typical example of a product, or if you've been as a project manager, you've been involved in the process of make or buy analysis, and what is that product or that services that you used, so that it will further broaden our understanding? In other words, let's share as experience when it comes to make and buy analysis, even if it's an individual experience.
Okay, I would say that okay, we have done our we have seen the scope of our work, and it requires to construct. The construction will last for about 2 years, and in we need a crane, and we need a crane. How do we get the crane? Do we have to rent the crane, or do we have to buy a crane? And since we're into construction and the job is going to last for 2 years, by the time we do all the cost analysis on how much are we going to pay on rentals and how much if we buy it. If we are going to rent, at the end of the day, we are going to pay such amount. And at the end of the project, the crane is given back to the person that we hired it from, the vendor. But if we buy a crane, the crane will serve for the purpose of that project and also in the consequent in the next project we are going to get, since we are a construction firm. So when we do all those analyses, it is better for us to buy than to hire. So if we're going to buy the crane will be our own property at the end of the project. It will be a gain or a plus to the company. So that next project, we are not going to buy a crane again. And if we want to buy, we are going to look at the tonnage of the crane. Are we going to buy 50-ton crane? Or look at it in project. So if the project is going to last for a very long per day, 300 and 365 days times 2. So how much is the cost of the crane? We can go for the crane. And that's a simple example of what I want to say.
Very much.
Okay, let me give one example. I believe is a bit very relatable, especially for people in the oil and gas industry. We have IOC. Yeah, and these IOCs, the top guys are usually they're not from Nigeria, they are foreign countries, companies, okay? So discover a well, a reservoir somewhere, and they come to lease the place, discuss a manner with the government, they pay the lease and all that. Now, for them to carry out seismics and all that, they can decide to hire a company who is a professional to do that. Now, when it comes to developing a well, it involves drilling, completions, cementing, and the rest of them, and the well stimulation and all that. So, like for instance, Egina was is a total project that started about 10 years ago or so. I was involved in Egina, and my company was involved in providing completions, wireline to Total. Now, Total, it's not as if they cannot develop their company and have people hired to provide these services, but they have considered the risk of running it, the day-to-day management of resources, and they felt, oh, okay, let's just get people who, over the years, have developed different services, different specialization, areas of specialization over the years. For instance, Seadrill was the drilling company that provided drilling services to Total. And these are guys that have been well developed. They have their own equipment, they have their drill ship, which they purchased from Samsung Heavy Industry. So they don't make ships, drill ships. Okay? So they had to buy it from another company. You see, it's a whole value chain. They had to buy it from another company and install, make them, they gave them a kind of a blueprint of how they want it, and it was produced for them. But they're the ones running the drilling for Total. Now, if anything happens while drilling is going on, let's say it's a blowout, Seadrill will lose their ship. Okay. Now, Total, if there's a spill, they will take care of the spill. They will share the risk of compensation. But who takes care of the risk? The loss of the ship itself. So this is a way, outsourcing services or provision of products is a way of avoiding certain risks and transferring it to another organization. So this is just one of many examples.
Oh, thank you so very much. I'm enjoying the class. So if I didn't ask questions, this I would have missed out from all these, bodies of knowledge and all that. Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. And I think a very little holistic example can also be like, we've seen where someone wants to build the house and all that. And you know that you can decide to buy already molded blocks. And you can decide to also mold the blocks by yourself, all right? By getting the machines and all that. That's example that I think the second speaker was, telling, and that is on the local level and all that. So you can decide to make it, you can, okay, let's buy the machine, the block molding machine. After that, it becomes your own. You can be using it and you save the cost of hiring or buying the blocks itself. So that's a good example also. So that's for make or buy analysis when it comes to procurement plan. Thank you so very much. So we move on to expert judgment. This is self-explanatory, I guess. So this is used to assess the input and output from the process. So it can be used to develop or modify the criteria that will be used to evaluate the seller's proposal, such as legal, technical, business, and procurement management system. Experts' judgment is self-explanatory. People that have been there, like Mr. Solomon that just spoke, Mr. Teso, Mr. Victor, and the other person and all that, they are in a good place. I want to believe that if a particular project manager will come and say, oh, Mr. Solomon or Mr. Victor, please, what do you have to say? We are about to procure this or that. What experience, do you have any legal experience and a technical experience, the business and everything? You'll be able to give your expert judgment. So they come in to advise, based on their experience and expertise. All right, so we now move on to contract type. Contract types. We have the fixed price contract, we have the cost reimbursable contract, and we have the time and material contract. I would also want us to speak here. All right, this class is fully participatory. What do you understand by fixed price contract? Let's go, anyone can.
Can fixed price contract be also the lump sum, regarded as lump sum?
I wouldn't know, but if you think it is so, that is why you are the one telling us what you know.
Yes, it's also a lump sum. Fixed price can also be a lump sum contract. Just like it's simple. I have groups of welders that I was supposed to employ. For them, welders, welders comes with if you have been in the industry, you know that welders, they are troublesome. They are good, but they are troublesome because they know that everything relies to them. That without a joint being welded, there is no production. So they always hold the company, truly speaking, experience. And by the time I want to get 20 welders, I have to do their welders qualification test. I have to do medicals for them. And at the end of the day,
I'm just laughing, I'm hearing you.
Yes. And at the end of the day, they will tell you that you have not paid them. Okay. Yes, I can hear you. At the end of the day, they say they want to down tool. Then at the end of the day, we begin to have time lost. So we now consider, okay, how much will it take us for us to get a subcontractor and pay him lump sum for the job and give him a timeline? And say, okay, this is so much we need to get we are getting from the contract from our clients. We can be able to give somebody a subcontractor and pay him this much and give him a timeline for him to finish the project. At the end of the day, we have shared the risk. So everything about the welfare of the welders goes to him. Negotiation goes to him. It's not coming back to the company. And that's how it is. Okay, do this job for so amount and deliver. So that's a fixed price and a lump sum, which we have actually given to this subcontractor, and we rest. All what we need to do is just to supervise, gives us report, and we go ahead. I think that's why I understand about fixed costs or lump sum.
Okay. Thank you so very much. Do we have some other person speak on that?
Yes. For the fixed price contract, as the name implies, fixed price. It's a kind of contract that involves supplies of goods and services that the agreed payment amount will not subsequently be adjusted. It can be adjusted once we have signed the contract between the supplier and the client. We say, okay, this contract is going to be run for 150,000 naira, it's going to be run for 2 million naira. You sign, you agree. No matter what happens, no matter economical, whatever, once that was not part of the contract, there's not going to be any adjustment in that contract. So that's my own understanding of fixed price contract.
Okay, we've all spoken well. Another person? Please, let's keep it coming. Let's keep it coming.
I would say again that from what the last speaker has said, I think it's a contract that is binding. So if I'm giving you XYZ money for you to carry out this job, if you incur anything that is outside the contract or you're for you are on your own. There is no
reimbursement for you and your own.
Exactly. You're right.
That's a good one. Of course, with the name alone, I just wanted us to have fun. With the name alone, we know that anything that is fixed is fixed. All right. Okay. Remember, I started by saying that in procurement, a project manager has to be involved from the very first point of negotiation just for the relationship to be established. And I now said, why the relationship? And I cited some examples then, which I want to believe we still remember. Now, when it comes to this fixed price contract, of course, we've said it all, which is a type of contract for the supply of goods or for procurement of goods or services, such that the agreed payment will never be subsequently be adjusted to reflect the resources. So that is just that. So if you have given me, okay, we've entered into an agreement that I'm going to buy a bag of cement for 7,000 naira as at some months ago or last year. And now we are having a bag of cement being sold at, I don't know exactly, but I know it's more than that. And then as at that time, we have entered an agreement that this is what you're giving me. A fixed price, contract will mean that even if I'm getting those cement now, I'm still going to get it at the amount or the price that we entered an agreement with. So that's just that. All right, but don't also forget that we have different types of fixed price contracts. We have a firm fixed price contract, fixed price contracts with economic price adjustment. We have fixed price incentive contract. We have fixed price contract with, prospective price redetermination. It depends on the kind of contract, you entered with. So fixed selling price contract with price redetermination. So that is just that. But the most important thing that when you talk about a fixed price contract is it is that contract that the agreed payment amount is not negotiable, after the contract is being signed. All right, so we look at cost reimbursable contracts. Cost reimbursable contracts. Our understanding, our input is also needed here. So let's go. Let's enjoy ourselves. We have almost like 9 people, more than 9 people on the call, and I'm only hearing the voices of 4 people. So where are others, please? Are we together? Are we together, please?
We are together. We are here.
All right. So let's say something in that regard. What is cost
We are
reimbursement contract? and with example, holistic example.
I would say it's a contract that includes incentive for meeting for exceeding a selected objective. I will say so, such as meeting up your schedule. If you meet up your schedule, the company will say, okay, you have met up your schedule, you have delivered within time. I will give you some incentives. We'll compensate you for what you've done. And I know that it's like that. Or you say you are carrying out a project or an assignment, and there was extra cost that you incurred. And
Okay.
Yes, those extra costs that you incurred.
You are on the right track. Of course, with the word
Yes.
reimbursable. Yes, we
Yes.
all know what reimbursement.
Yes. How do you
Sometimes
get
we
it?
use it. Yeah.
Yes.
Sometimes
I'll tell you
we
that
use it.
they give you. Yes. Okay, I would say you are given a schedule. I mean, an ISO to fabricate. In the process of fabricating it, there is another thing that is not included in the ISO. We call it variation. So how do you get that money to be paid, which is not really part of the scope they gave to you, and they said you should do it? So it's an extra cost. So how do they reimburse you? So it should be stated in the contract that this so job you did will be paid, so that they can pay you back your money. Yes. So the contract must state that any other job or rework will be paid back to you that is not included in the actual fixed cost, will be paid back to you on justifying it upon documentation and receipt and verification. You'll be paid back.
Okay.
I think that's what I have to.
Okay, so Mr. Solomon, are you telling me that if you and I enter into a procurement contract agreement, and I find out that there's a fluctuation in prices of materials and all that, that you would reimburse me? In other words, you motivate me by giving me more money, adding more money to me to finish up the contract. Is that what you're saying?
We call contract review. It's everywhere. The project I'm in now, it is a 1.5 billion US dollars job. As at when the contract was awarded, dollar was less than 1,000 naira. Okay. And we're going to do procurement, we're going to buy things, and just of a sudden, we couldn't get what we need to get because the dollar has skyrocketed. So there must be a review. We must come back to the table and tell our clients that we cannot get this thing done. And if we must get it done, what is the way forward? So we must come to an agreement. You will take this loss, I take this one.
You come back to the table.
Yes, come back to the table and agree.
Okay.
It is not casting, or the project will suffer.
Okay.
Of course, your client, they know also that things have changed.
Okay.
So there must be an agreement. That's why at times when you go into procurement, you leave what is called contingent or they call it what's it called? They call it I've forgotten 15% something something. There's a name. That's what they call it. Any person can help me. It's called markup. Yes, 15 or 20% markup.
Okay.
The 20% markup helps you in case there is fluctuation in price.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And you know why I was asking that question? Because when you were giving your example, you mentioned billion. All right. So
Yeah.
that was what I was asking. Is it possible that Mr. Solomon will now reimburse me like I need like 5 billion reimbursement? Will you
No,
as an individual be able to do that?
it all
The
depends.
reason that my question, I was coming through this route because I know that we have cost reimbursement contract almost all the time from a government contract, kind of. So that was what I was using. Like, is it possible for like individual contract, or I need to just build a house? You had the project, the building project manager, and you now, is it possible for individual because of the cost implication?
Well, if the individual will not want to reimburse, then he will get a substandard house. Simple thing.
Of course,
Okay.
of course.
Okay.
Okay.
Then,
Okay, Mr. Teso.
yes, I think from my own understanding of the cost reimbursable contract, it's a contract that is like 100% financed by the contractor, the supplier, or the vendor. So in this
Okay.
situation, there's an agreement between the client and the contractor. Okay, this contract is going to cost us about $1.5 million. It's going to cost us about $100,000. Okay, on job completion, we are going to come back, carry out an audit, carry out an inspection, we supervise, and see that the contract meets 100% the requirement. And when all that is done, the contractor is finally paid the final value of the contract. I think that's my understanding of the cost reimbursement contract.
Okay. And don't also forget that with these reimbursements, it must have been agreed upon.
Yes, between the clients and the contractor.
Yes.
Mhm.
So it's a kind of a cost reimbursement contract. It's a type of government contract, like I said before, where the government will pay because while I was asking that question, but here, like I'm paying you for this, give me, okay, just take, for example, when you are calling an artisan, say, give me a quote for this. And the artisan is giving you his own quote. Oh, this is, I will need this. And are you okay with this? Are you just say, yes, it will take. And you sign. It's always very difficult for that person to come back and say, Oga, that thing I told you that, I just got to market and the price has gone up. It's always a fight, true or false. But you always hear someone say, but you told me this now, this is, you use your hand to write this thing. How come? No, I can't pay. You just have to do my job for me. So it's very difficult when it comes to a smaller individual project and all that. So it is basically a government kind of contract. All right. Where the government will pay the contractor for the cost of completing the project along with an additional payment, depending on what specific contract type is agreed upon or was agreed upon at the beginning. So we've all spoken well. Thank you so much. And then we look at that the final pricing of this deal is determined later based on the underlying deal and the actual cost it took to complete the project. Don't forget that. So, because it's an agreement between two parties to provide payment for allowable costs. So when you are writing your exams or thereabouts, or it's always to provide payment for allowable.
Are we together? Are we together?
Yes.
Okay.
But there's no audio at this end, though. I don't know. From this facilitator.
Yes, that's why I'm asking. She,
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah,
yes, we
good.
can.
Yes, I was actually. So let's talk from from here. Because me, I had to. So I was saying that the cost reimbursement contract is an agreement between parties to provide payment for allowable costs incurred by the other party. So it must be an allowable cost. All right. It's not something and come back and say, oh, this is it must be, and that determine contract you entered on at the beginning. All right, so let's look at the third. We talk about material, time and material contracts. Time and material contracts. Can you hear me? Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so we are talking on time and materials contracts.
Okay.
Can someone explain that? I'm allowing us to talk because I know that we actually have experiences and all that.
With my little experience on this whole thing we have been doing, it's an aspect of both fixed and reimbursable contract. That is time and material. It's woven together. That is
okay.
It is either or reimbursable. Everything together, joined together, alloyed together.
Okay. Are you?
Yes. It can be variable, you pay them. It can be fixed, you pay the fixed. So it's an hybrid of both. Combination of both.
Okay. All right. So time and materials contract requires a client to pay for a contractor's time and money spent on materials. So they usually specify an hourly rate plus a markup. Somebody mentioned a markup, markup for materials. So while many of these contracts are based on an estimate, the estimate may not be the full price required at the end of the project. All right, so that one I think is self-explanatory too. So we look at, of course, we know what we've already defined what contract is all about. A mutually binding agreement that obligates the seller to provide a specific product or service or result and obligate the buyer to pay for it. We know that that is a contract when it comes to procurement. So we are now asking, what makes a contract? A contract must be an offer that is made, and the offer must be accepted. All parties are legally allowed to sign. All parties receive that's consideration in terms of money, property, and all that. So the contract covers a legal activity. That's what a contract, must be. So why contract? Why do we go into contract agreement? To avoid misunderstanding. I know if I ask, all of us will have everything, if not all, to say on this. Why contract? To avoid misunderstanding, to define and agree upon specifications, deliverables, delivery schedule, payment schedule, to verify that specifications are met, to avoid changing key resources. All right, when we talk of the bait and switch, to get the best deals for your organization. You avoid changing key resources. You come back today, tomorrow, oh, what about this? You switch, oh, I don't want this again. I want to go for that one. So that is what contract, is all about. That is why we go into contract and all that. So we've all said that when it comes to fixed price contract, the fixed price incentive and all that, the cost reimbursable, the time contract and all that. So we move on to, buyer's point of view. When we talk of a contract type, we talk about the fixed type. What's the pros? What are the cons? So most commonly used, reduced cost of certainty, that's the pros. What you look at is, okay, this product is most commonly used. This one reduce cost of uncertainty. It motivates sellers to control costs and motivates sellers to complete. You don't go and look for what that the seller will like, okay, we just do this, we'll not be able to do this, we'll be struggling to, and all that. So the cost reimbursable allows forward movement when details are uncertain. Don't forget that. So in all the English we've spoken so far, this is what is broken down for our better understanding. So it's typically lower cost than fixed. Of course, we know that since sellers does not need to compensate for as much risk. So we look at the time and materials. No lengthy contractual issues. It's timely. Duration is usually brief, and scope is not fully defined. All right, so we look at the cons. You see that the statement of works and responsibilities must be clearly defined. Higher cost for additional scope. It has higher cost for additional scope. So sellers may look for extras or consider 10 items out of scope if losing money. So for cost reimbursable, we look, the cons are more work to manage, higher risk, price is known and seller has a moderate incentive to control costs. All right. So we look at the time and materials. We look hard to avoid front-end loading. Contractor may store, no incentive to control costs. Needs careful monitoring and oversight for improper charges. So we see that in fixed price, we see that work is guaranteed. Easier to claim extras for poorly defined work if statement of work is not clearly defined. For cost reimbursable, no lengthy contractual issues. Easier to add work to contract, no cost risk. And we look at time and material, that there's no lengthy contractual issues, is easier to add work to contract and all that. So the cons is in fixed price, it has the highest risk, especially risk for a new product. No guarantee of work, no guarantee of work or lengthy engagement. That's for time management. So we move on. We are seeing procurement management plan, which describe how the procurement process will be managed from developing procurement documentation through contract closure. Procurement management plan. And we look at the procurement statement of work developed from the project scope baseline and define only that portion of the project scope that is to be included within the contract. It also describes the procurement item in enough detail to allow prospective sellers to determine if they can provide the product, services, or results. All right. So we look at procurement document. We see request for information, invitation for bid, request for proposal, and request for. So we look at the source selection criteria. The criteria developed to rate or score sellers' proposals, such as understanding of need, cost, technical capabilities, risk approach, either technical staffing or management, warranty, financial, production capacity, size of organization, past performance. I have said this, that is what I'm just running through. I have said this even at the beginning of this class. I have said this before we get here. You need to look at this, the sellers. You need to look at the size of the organization, their past performances. You have to look at the references, You need to look at the risk, the technical capability, the costs. Are these sellers really understanding what we are in need of? So that's what source selection criteria takes care of. And then change request. Requested changes to the project management plans and subsidiary plans may result from the plan, procurement plans or process. So we look at project management process groups. We look at we've seen this, the initiation, the planning, the executing, the monitoring, controlling, and the closing, which we know from the beginning. So in conducting procurement process, what do we understand? The process of obtaining seller responses, selecting a seller, and awarding a contract. How do you go about that? Conduct procurement process. We said this before: project management plan, procurement document. We talked about when we say make and buy and all that. And then we see, okay, let's do this. How and where do I find the best contractor for this piece of the project? So let's go on to this exercise now. With what we have, talked about since the past now we want to do this exercise. How and contractor for this piece of the project is what? Are we together?
I can hardly hear you. The line is breaking.
Are we together?
I said I can hardly hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes. I think it's better now.
Okay, is that same with everyone? Is that same with everyone?
I'm sorry.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Loud and clear.
Okay. All right. Okay, so we are to do this simple exercise, considering what we have been talking about so far. So how do I find the best contractor for this piece of the project? And what do you think that is? Are we together?
Yes, come again, please.
How and where do I find the best contractor for this piece of the project? Are we together?
Yeah, we're together.
Okay. It's an exercise, and I believe you doing this in your previous classes.
You should look for level of industrial relevant experience. As in, the person the contractor you are looking at, does he have the industry experience to handle the project? One, I think we can say knowing the hazards of the industry and safety, a kind of safety policies, risk assessment and training record. Has he gone through that? Has he risk training? What is the experience so far? I think these are the factors one need to consider before getting a contractor that will handle such a project.
Okay, that is how and where do I find the best contractor for this piece of the project? How do I get the needs of the project and products across to the contractors?
Okay, you can get all this by sending an RFP, request for proposal, and the contractor pre-qualifier forms. When you send this out, I think the contractors can send in their proposals, and then they also fill their contractor pre-qualifier forms, where you'll be able to determine if this contractor is capable of handling these jobs by checking out the jobs that the supplier or the contractor has carried out on different projects and different other KPIs that may be required to select the contractor. Yeah.
Okay. What would be your selection criteria for vendor selection?
Well, you can check the key performance indicators of the contractor or the vendors. Like I mentioned earlier, you carry out a thorough investigation to check out the projects that such contractors have carried out in the past. So from there, you can have an edge to determine whether this contractor or vendor will be able to carry out the project.
I would say that that was when I was involved. We wanted some subcontractors to help us do flow lines.
Okay.
And we did. We threw an open bid. They brought all their documents. We looked at it, caught them. But we did the last one. The last one is that we went to their location where they say they have those equipments. It's not just paperwork. We need to also visit them, because at times they might do something you think they are okay, but you have to visit them. We went visiting them, looking at all the materials, their office space, what they say they have, and also we checked them. The checkbox, we saw that they have it, and the other doesn't have. So these are the criteria. Now you need to do inspection. You need to carry out inspection so that you're able to know that what is on paper is what they have on ground. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Does anybody want to add to that?
I think, okay. I'm looking at the historical performance of the
seller.
This Okoro Timothy Blessed. I'm looking at us because when you follow their history in terms of knowing if they have the capacity to deliver, I've just given a project, but A plus now. The delivering is just complete, nothing to show for it. So, but if you looked at the state is being built, you see, carcass is every. I'm looking at it. You must look at the historical performance of the vendors before you them or award a contract to them. It will aid you to know if they have the capacity.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. So we are looking at the quality sellers list. How do we get that? So sellers who have been previously pre-screened based on qualification and past experience. Now you need these lists to select them, and then seller proposals you prepare in response to a procurement document package form, from the basic set of information that will be used by evaluation body to select one or more successful bidders. So in project document, items that will assist in selecting the appropriate supplier or vendor may include the risk register or project scope document. Okay, so the bidder conference, meeting with prospective sellers prior to preparation of a bid or proposal. All these ones are what we know and all that. So we look at proposal evaluation techniques. How do we do this? Techniques can be used to rate and score proposal, but all would use expert judgment and some form of evaluation criteria. We look at independent estimates, costs prepared by the buyer's organization using non-biased factors, or an outside firm to provide a benchmark value to evaluate received responses. So we see the advertising existing list of potential sales can often be expanded by placing advertisements in general, circulation publications. We know that. We've seen that in our newspaper publications and all that. So, and in internet search also, which has a major influence on most project procurement. You can't do away with internet, with social media nowadays. So it has a major influence on most project procurement. So procurement negotiation, this is to clarify the structure, requirements, and other terms of purchases to solidify a mutual agreement between the buyer and seller. So these items need to be resolved prior to signing a contract. We all know what negotiation is all about. Negotiate the price, the labels, the schedule, the period of performance, the pricing, the payment terms, the warranty, the penalty and incentive, and the change procedures. So we are asking now, who establishes the target date? This is for everyone. Who establishes the target date?
The target date for what? For the delivery of the project or what is
Procurement
procured?
contracts.
We're talking about procurement, yes.
Okay.
The client.
I think the project manager.
Establishes it.
The scope of work will determine when to deliver the procurement.
The scope of
It's in the scope.
It's not just the project manager. Remember, a project manager, you manage everything. Human resources, you manage materials, you manage everything. So it's not just you that will now say, already when the scope is built, it's built around these other resources. All right. So it's actually the scope. So who approves the requirement?
The end user.
Who approves the requirement?
The procurement team does that. Final one is from the project manager.
The final one will be from the project manager. The project manager has the requirements and the specification of an item.
Okay. Actually, the project manager. Any counter opinion?
Sorry, ma, I didn't get that. I didn't get your last words, ma.
Not even the two questions. Make a summary.
Even the target date, of course, because everything is managed. Like I said, I answered the one who establishes the target date. And we also said the project manager. The project manager, you are managing, but you don't actually just take a decision on a particular. Everything is a teamwork. You are only there to manage, the resources, everything embedded in that scope of work. All right. So before you can say, okay, you must have brought in these other people, I call them people, these other experiences, professionals from different departments coming together to say, okay, this is it. Are we good to go? And then they reach an agreement. That is, okay, that I want to establish, that's what I wanted to establish. That agreement that acceptability, you know, that this is it, and then it is signed. So the second question was, who approved the requirements? And someone said the project manager. Of course, the project manager does that. What you require for this is only in establishing the standard and the other aspect of it that everyone will come, but it's actually the project manager that signs and says this is it. So who is allowed to change requirements?
Except the project managers.
I say decline.
Of course.
Stakeholders.
Yes. Yes. And that doesn't just happen like that. You know, everything, because you've had your project charter, you've had your documentations and all. So anything that needs to be changed as the project is ongoing, you have to always go back to the drawing board, bringing everybody together back to the table to negotiate, to accept. Is there need for change? And if there's need for change, why the change? How should the change, you know, look like, and all that. So what is procedure for making changes? I've just answered that one. So what is procedure for making changes?
I think calling all stakeholders to the table and discuss about it. I think we were taught in the last module.
Okay, how closely is progress tracked? How closely is progress tracked? In other words, how do you monitor the progress of the project? Or remember, when your answer should be in the context of procurement. Now, how closely is progress tracked?
Through receiving the deliverables by milestones. At every point in time, you can easily track progress based on the deliverables and the milestone progress achieved so far.
Please, can you break it down? I know we are professionals, but assuming there is a layman that is just coming to.
Okay, let me come down to a layman understanding then. For example, you have a space you want to build, and you are asked, you can monitor progress from the stages of clearing the land, getting your, if it's a waterlogged location, getting your irons, doing your raft foundation. At that point in time, you can monitor progress by setting up your foundations, after which you begin to lay your blocks. So you can monitor progress by the milestone deliverables. For example, you brought in your iron, you brought in your cement. At that point in time, you can actually monitor progress from that stage.
Okay, taking on from your example, or whatever they call it. Definitely, when you are doing your job, you get putting the proper, and you see what are soaking the foundation or coming out. It means there's no progress. Okay, I take that. So, how are there any mandatory meetings?
Sorry, I didn't get that, man.
Come again, please.
The line is breaking. They're not getting.
Mandatory meetings. Are there any mandatory meetings? In other words, is there any need for meetings, calling in meetings in between the projects?
Yes,
Very, very
in
important.
projects
Very, very
they call it progress meetings. At every one stages, there should be a progress meeting where you come to to meet to discuss the progress, what has been achieved, the target for the next phase, and what have you.
Okay.
And then also to add up, you can create a progress status report. Okay, at each stage of the project, a report could be generated. This is where we are. This is where we are going, and then this is what is required. So the status report will be able to tell at every point how the project is progressing. So I think by creating the project status report is just a way of tracking the project progress.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also for follow-up.
Okay.
You need to follow up. Yes. If the meeting is not being held, nobody wants to follow up anything. But if there's a meeting, where is it to? Where is it? You say I still there. Okay, call the vendor, call the supplier. It's just like that. It's good. Progress.
Okay. And you can say that is monitoring.
It can also, I looked at it, can also be in terms of having your meeting with the stakeholders and the vendors and all the rest. I think waiting how far you have gone about the job. Are you making progress? What
Are we there?
The line is not good. Network
is not. Your network is having issues.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry about that. Well, can you hear me now?
We can hear you, man.
I hear you now.
Okay. Okay, the last person said what?
I said it can be known as, it's known as when the vendors and the stakeholders now come together to evaluate.
Okay. All right.
Is the
Perfect.
project, is there any progress and all the rest? I can also call it
evaluation. Yes, evaluation. Okay. All right. So we said that the meetings are necessary for report, for monitoring, for controlling, and for evaluation, etc., etc. All right. So what are the milestones? Are you hearing me?
Yes, I can hear you, ma.
Okay. What do we mean by milestones?
Stage 1, stage 2.
Hi. Network is bad. I'm not even hearing anything.
Hello.
I think the
milestone can bring about the
final completion.
Yeah, from start to finish. I think that is the milestone. Hello. Network is bad.
Please again, I did not get that.
I was saying that, can you hear me? Hello? Can I go on? Hello?
I can hear you now, but I didn't hear you.
All right. Okay, I was saying the milestone referred to the stages of the project, right from the start to the finish. At the beginning, there is a stage we must get to before we move to the next stage. So at every stage, that is a milestone. And at every milestone, the project is reviewed at every stage. Have we finished this stage? Have we done all the deliverables of this stage? If yes, we cannot proceed to the next stage. So every stage of completion in a project is therefore referred to as the milestones of that project until we get to the project completion finally.
I would say that milestone in scheduling, when we are scheduling, we schedule when we are supposed to mobilize to site. First of all, manpower to site, and it goes down to clearing of the bush if it's breaking down like that. When are we supposed to bring some of our equipment that we have procured or we have actually requested for? So when you mobilize to site, that is a milestone that you have achieved based on your project schedule. 100% completed, mobilized to site. That is a milestone. Procuring the materials to site, different materials, you are bringing your skit to site. It's another milestone. When it's gotten to site, is a milestone. It's part of planning tools anyway. So it's meeting to your schedule as it is planned, 100% to 20% like that. As you get that thing done, you mobilize to site. One is a milestone. You bring your tools and equipment is a milestone. So these are specific, what's it called? Specific planning tools in your schedule.
Okay, so I can hear you. That's a good one. All right. So let's move on so that we don't end up
No audio, no audio. Is anybody experiencing it?
Yes, I am too. No audio.
who are the key players, please? I can hear you. Are we together?
Okay, I can hear you, man. But initially,
I'm so sorry for
We are not together. I'm not hearing you.
But I can hear you. I can hear you perfectly. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. So I was asking, in procurement, procurement contract criteria, who are the key players?
I think the stakeholders.
The stakeholders. You said you think is the key. So that means you're not sure.
No. The
Stakeholders, man. Make finance available for the project.
It's like I'm having network issue over here. I don't know if you are getting me.
Yes, I can hear you perfectly, but
key stakeholders is the buyer and the seller. Both of them, they are stakeholders.
yes, that's what I wanted to hear. Because remember, we are talking about procurement here. We are talking about procurement plans, the tools and the technique, the contract. Buyers are actually the buyers and the sellers.
Buyer and
So we move on. We are asking, whose time are you buying? In other words, are you buying the seller's time, or are you buying the buyer's time? Which time are you buying?
Buyer's
You
time.
understand? The buyer's time. All right. Okay. So sorry about the. We are in Nigeria, all of us. We day here. All right. So we move on. We move on. We are talking about the selected sellers. So sellers who have been judged to be a competitive range based upon the outcome of the proposal or bid evaluation, and who have negotiated a draft contract, which will be the actual contract when an award is made. And we look at the procurement contract award, mutually binding legal agreement that obligates the buyer to pay the seller. Of course, you can't sign that contract and then tomorrow you say, no, it wasn't like that. Like I said earlier, when you are paying down your signature, it means that every item, everything agreed on that contract is binding, and anyone that breaches it will have legal battle to fight. So the resource calendars. Well, this means that this talks about the availability and pool of contracted resources with dates they can be called upon to use. All right. We look at change requests, changes to the project management plan and its subsidiary plans and other components, such as the project schedule and procurement management plan, may result from the select sellers process. How do I mean? That changes to the project management plan and its subsidiary plans and other components such as the project schedule and procurement management plan may result from the select sellers process. Remember, when we talk about the selected sellers, we say that sellers who have been judged to be a competitive range based upon the outcome of the proposal or bid evaluation. So the change will come from there. It will come from that criteria. It will come from the criteria that, oh, they've been judged. So if you judge this one to be this, you judge, oh, you can then say, okay, let's change the request that, oh, this one doesn't have this one doesn't meet our need or our requirement. We move on to other from that selected sellers list. So if you want to make any change, any request for change, you go back to that selected sellers list. So that is what change request talks about. Of course, we would have had, oh, this company is having this, do not have this, we'll meet up our time, we'll be able to deliver and all that. And so you work on that criteria. So project management plan update. This contains the elements of the project management plan that may be updated, such as cost, scope, schedule baselines, and procurement management plan. So the updates will come from here. You look at, the cost, you look at the scope, you look at the schedule baseline and procurement, management plan. So you look at the project document updates. So project document that needs to be updated, such as requirement document, risk register, and requirement traceability document. Now, what you do, everything you're doing, remember in project management, documentation is very important. It's key. It's very key because you will always have reason to go back. Oh, peradventure, maybe there's an action that we are not sure. You always go back to your document and check it out. So your risk register, oh, the last one we did, oh, what are they like? Of course, you would have also talked about your risk. What if we do this? What will be the likable risk? And you put them in the register, and you always go back. So project document updates, you always go back to this document to see the updates, and where necessary for updating, you do that. So who will you choose and why? Who will you choose and why? You look at the potential contractors, 1, 2, 3. Now, this is an exercise. you look at the company started in 1982. The size is large, reputation is good, on-time performance good, cost expensive to very expensive, costly good, quality good, project management chartered, project manager. And you look at this one started 2003. The size of the organization is small, and the reputation not established, on-time performance unknown, cost inexpensive, quality unknown, project manager project manager experience. You look at the potential contractor 3. Company started in 1999. Size is medium, reputation excellent, on-time performance good, cost expensive, quality excellent. Project manager often change in the middle of the project. So which of the project potential contractor will you go for?
I would say this thing is dicey. I don't know whether there's room for starters, because that man that has 100 years experience also started from somewhere, and somebody gave him the chance. It's really a challenge we're having here, because most of the time, yes, it's a very big challenge. Most of the times we want indigenous companies that we don't give them the time for them to perform. We just look at this criteria and we go for the bigger ones, and at the end of the day, those ones disappoint. So I would say, practically, I would say we are surely shooting ourselves on the feet. I opened a business. How do I strive? If this yardstick is being followed to the in total, you discover that at the end of the day, that man that is starting will not have the experience to do it. In as much as it is written, no, we have done all our analysis and like that. I know for some companies, they'll say, okay, this man has, he doesn't have the experience, so to speak, but he has the expertise. Let's give him a try.
You are very correct. You are very correct.
And again, giving a try. Let me now. Giving a try, we put somebody on standby so that we'll not shoot ourselves on the foot.
Okay.
We put a standby. Somebody will be on a standby in case he fails. So our contingency plan will go back to the next person. I think that's the way I feel it should be done. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So, getting something from what you just said, that all these criteria that we are seeing, all this, this scale that we are looking at, this one is started since 1982. The organization is large, reputation is good, on-time performance good, cost expensive to very expensive, quality good, project manager is chartered. And this one we are looking at, just 2013 is small, is reputation not established, on-time performance unknown, cost inexpensive, quality unknown, project manager just experience. Now, I understand what you're saying, because most times, especially in this our jurisdiction, we always look at, number one, like just take for example, when we want to buy, maybe you want to buy something just a little good for personal use, we always fall into this. Like when you pick a product, you look at, where is this produced? This is a product made in the US, and you pick the other one, product made in some water. With our human sentiment, we always want to that one that is made abroad. We trust the US. They cannot do substandard goods. We cannot do this to go. But do you know that sometimes we notice that, or we observe, or we get to know that the product that is actually made locally here can sometimes even be more, how do I put it, can even meet the need, can meet what we want to use it for, can actually stand to correct the mistake or the error that we want the product to start. For example, you go for imported toiletries, I'm talking about maybe body cream and all that. You see, where it is produced in consideration of the weather. All right, in consideration of the weather, oh, that you do this. Sometimes we bring those products down here where our weather condition is hot, the temperature is high, the heat and all that. And you tend to use that product and it will not actually work as it was stipulated, as it was written on the body. So I understand where you are coming from, where you say that with all these qualifications, with all this, it might be dicey. All right. But can you also say, can you compare high tech
You say what?
with Julius Berger? Can you compare high tech, yes, with Julius Berger? And if
Well,
yes,
that's what we know here, Julius Berger. There are bigger people more than
Julius.
Julius Berger. But in Nigeria, I do a product, the same quality with what is produced abroad. Because my price is cheap, they'll tell me that it's fake.
It's fake.
And that's the problem we're having. Because my price is cheap, they'll say, this is not original. But it is the same. It will deliver the same. So what is high tech? I am an engineer, a mechanical engineer. There are specifications. If it meets specification, product standard, it is okay, irrespective of where it is made from. As we look at this thing, and that is why our indigenous company is where we are. That is where we are. I will tell you that I've been into projects and I see that the people they bring, they import as specialists, as professionals. They don't even know it more than us. They don't even know it more than us. But what is our selling point? That is the issue.
Okay.
What is our selling point?
You are about to answer. You are going on to answer the questions. I'm listening. I'm enjoying your input. Okay.
So, so our selling point. Yeah. Okay. Somebody should take up. No worries.
Okay. Some other person.
All right. For me, while I totally agree with my other colleagues sharing experience based Nigeria products and so on. Also these are two things. These are two matters. Now, when you say podcast, back that also is a big statement because doesn't matter about whether you or foreign contractor. I'm talking about what you are doing. That is one. And also making decisions as a project manager. You want to stick to decision that you that has worked and you have seen the result. So there is always a tendency to well-established contract. Now the issue now comes to back to Nigeria issue. Now, what do we call our local product content? How do we protect it? How do we protect local product? What is our local? I think that issue doesn't have that's to actually our better policy. Now, we give a lot of big projects to foreigners, to foreign contractors. In that particular project, what is the local content of our local engineer in that project? What are they supposed to do then? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Now, the Nigerian policy should be, Julius Berger, please, we want you to from here to Lokoja, because we have the mind that we are going to build a bridge one day from Lokoja, but we want to give some engineers that are because we are friends that learn so that when we are not for a start, you have to work with Julius Berger from Lokoja. Do you understand?
Yes.
This is how some other countries build their engineering. Nigeria is not it. We are not like that. We as engineers and as professionals, we tend to develop ourselves by ourselves. Like I also agree, I've seen some of them are good, and they think they are your engineer. And then you start talking about project engineering, and the guy is talking about rice and beans. This is my boss. How do I like that? Those have but that is not supposed to be the case. But however, for the context, it's very particular. Very particular. There is the need, whether you like it, or also in Nigerian market, there are Nigerian contractors that are just there are so plenty in terms of civil construction, contractors, though not so many, not plenty. That has. So if I was a manager, yes, I would pay for it. But also have bad, so plenty Nigerian contractors contract for bad names. I also have stakeholders who are also, like for example, I give an example. There was a project I tried. I gave a stakeholder, client, right. Then I took some of my experts, artists, let's look at went there, I explained them what I want, they explained what I wanted, and looked at it as fine. So what they fine. But you know that this time when after the project has ended, that was you can also see that the problem is not just a problem. Doesn't want to be professional. The average Nigerian rich man doesn't want to be professional, wants to be very rich. So it's not just it, it's a whole lot of problems from beginning to end. But if we are talking about project quality of press, years of projects in the job count, pool of professional count, and then experience count. So put all this together. Sometimes if you have this kind of, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 company bidding, and you are the project manager, and then you decide not to pick somebody with this kind of pedigree, I decide to pick someone, another one, because you is content. My brother, if something, by the time something is even happening, you will not be sitting on a very good seat. That is the truth. Because you have your goal that and you decide you cannot rule out time.
Okay. We've all agreed that there is a problem.
There's a big problem. Very huge problem. Because it is not project management, that's the Nigerian government policy. That is why we don't. For example, what is current doing? The question is, you say students on IT. What is their role when they go to IT? What are they doing if they're on site? Nobody checks all this. Who said I cannot? Who said I cannot speak about mathematics, chemistry, biology, all of that are studies. Japan does not what happened to engineers. Chinese are but look at them. So
yeah.
What is the thing? Look at our curriculum in our university. What my dad did in 1966 is what I came to. Is what my son will come and do in Nigerian university.
I'm telling you.
Meanwhile, in other countries, they are looking at the problem they have that they might have in the next 10 years. They have developed that curriculum for the students who are coming to university to solve that problem for them in the next 10 years. So you see that it is not really, it is a problem of policy and leadership that we really have. That is where the bulk of our problem is. If not, all these things will not be. Nigeria should be, in fact, I tell people, if you go through a Nigerian system of education and you can read A, you are very intelligent. You should not go through a Nigerian system and be able to identify ABCD. But yet we can. That shows that we are so good, but to our leaders or the government understand this.
Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. And at this point, because I am personally emotional because I'm a Nigerian. So I would want us to go for 10 minutes. Is 10 minutes too much or 5 minute break? So when we come back, we'll just round up. And should I say God will help us? We've been saying God will help us for only God knows when. And
We'll
we
help
are
ourselves. We'll help,
we
we'll
help
help ourselves.
ourselves. We help
God
ourselves.
has helped us. Let
So
us put it into practice.
how do you help yourself? If you want to, you don't fight alone.
We'll keep helping ourselves. This is how we help ourselves in forums like this. When we
Yes.
come together to discuss as a professional, we making a difference. And we, as a group like this, we try to keep at our various little position. Let us make a difference, and then we'll have a connection. This is how things change.
Our parents and NSC, they're not helping us.
They are not helping us.
Our current and NSC, they're not helping us. They want substitution every month, every year, and they're not helping us. They will bring a prisoner from South Africa to come and make my head here. It's really annoying. The so-called Indians, they call expatriates. Who are they?
They
will come here and begin to dictate. It's really annoying.
It's really. And when you look at all these things, it's discouraging. Like someone said, like Mr. Ojo said, if you ask yourself, why did you even go to school in the first place? Yes. How? Why? Why did you even go to school in the first place? And all that. So I just believe and I pray seriously, like you rightly said, like in this kind of forum. I don't know what, because I believe that in every sector in Nigeria is characterized by this corrupt element. So one person is ready to pocket the potentials of 2 million or 200 million people in your pocket, as far as he has something to eat and keep for 10 generations to come, as we are hearing every day on TV and thereabout. So it just says, because rightly, like with this knowledge that we are getting, all this knowledge, all this training, and then you are ready to go. And then someone is coming to tell you, because you are not white skinned, or because you did not speak abroad and all that. So it's really a serious problem. And like you say, God will help us to help ourselves. We'll be able to stand. If you have voices that are ready to stand and make a change, I think we are good. With this, let's just have a water break, for 5 minutes. When we come back, we'll round up.
Everything, boys. That's what we're facing in this country. God will help us.
Amen. All right, so 5 minutes. When we come back, we'll round up. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, we are back. Hello.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi.
All right. Is everyone back? Is everyone around? Maybe we can just start because we are actually rounding up by 1 today.
I'm around though. I don't know of others.
Okay. We are only you. I hope they have not become emotional and they want to resign from project managing.
The Indians are not helping us at all. The Indians are not helping us.
Okay,
They're not helping us.
well, I would say that is it the bargaining ability, or is
They are cheaper labor. Indians, they are cheaper labors. So
what is the issue? Is it just our complex, our inferiority complex that unconsciously
we don't have that complex, so to speak.
We are selling ourselves, we see ourselves as inferior to the white skin people? Or is it that
I don't think so.
We have saboteurs in the system that only think of their pockets and their generation?
Okay. Yes. See, the truth is that from policies, they said for you to be a superintendent to come into this country, why you are coming is to impact knowledge. Now, you get those superintendents, they will come in, instead of them to do what they're supposed to do, because we don't have checks and balances here. It's a project. Nigeria is a project. We love initiating things, kind of thing, but when it comes to close monitoring, we don't keep it up.
We don't keep it.
So they bring these people, they flood them into this country. Job we are supposed to do, they will bring an Indian, they bring an expatriate, where we know we have graduates that can do that job. And the authorities who are supposed to checkmate these people, they are not doing it. You cannot do that in Angola. You cannot do that in Angola. You try it in Angola, you are gone. But what our government, our monitoring unit, they're not doing anything about it.
I hate in Rwanda, it's the same thing.
You cannot.
It's the same thing. When you are buying land there, like the Nigerian realtors that are going there, they say there is a business openings and all that when it comes to land property and all that. That when you buy your land, you can never bring in your labors from your country. You must use them. You don't take anything, like you don't outsource anything to an outsider. It must be there. So that is why I say that it's because we have saboteurs in the system in Nigeria. Selfish sabotage. In fact, anybody that wants to sabotage a system is already a selfish person. So they think of themselves. There's much of greed and selfishness and all that is disturbing us.
That is it. That is it.
Because you can't tell me, you can't see how you would tell Julius Berger, do this, and they will put, and you pay them. And then when it comes to indigenous companies, they will say, oh,
you owe them.
Hey, do take this and do, go and use your money.
And you owe them.
So, and whereas somebody had been able to say, okay, is it not high tech? If Julius Berger is collecting 1 trillion, Julius can collect 100 million, and that they will still need to. So those are the items, and I so wish that the voices I'm hearing today, we are able to channel it and to stay and fight it. I don't know, because it's really alarming. It's really alarming in all sectors. It's not just in engineering and project management. All sectors. Is it in health sector? They will maltreat the doctors, and when they go abroad, they are living well with everything. So, what is really a problem? Look at this minimum wage we are talking about.
Yes.
You are fighting that you cannot pay your people, even 50. Okay, let's assume it's 50 or 60. Okay, put it at 100. You are correct that you cannot pay.
You cannot pay.
And then when you go and bring one poverty-stricken Lebanese or Indian, you now give them a escort You put them in this, and they are now enjoying, and that the same service you are giving to them, they can't get it in their place.
Yes.
It's a serious problem. So imagine on this procurement that we are talking about, we have fabricating companies. We have companies that can build machines that can do this, but they will not get from there. They prefer to ship and waste the money and all that.
That's what we call factory acceptance tests. Those factory acceptance tests, they do it abroad. So you go there, they will get extra code to go and check it. So that's where they make their money from. So they'll go and check this thing abroad, and they will take specific people to go and do that. That is where they make their money from. They'll have business agreement with the company doing that. It's all selfish because of their selfish greed. That is why you see things are not working like this. Whereas we have indigenous, innocent, for instance. Why can't our government declare innocent as to be the official manufacturer of the vehicles they are going to use? It's innocent vehicles.
And it's meant for Nigerian road.
On the road now, they're going to buy how much vehicle of 70 million.
Mercedes is not built for Nigerian road because they are fragile.
Yes, also you can imagine what we are doing to ourselves. We cannot patronize our own indigenous company, and we want us to grow. They want us to grow. How do we grow?
We help ourselves. So let's go on. I hope we have other people that have come back from the break, so that we have just 10 minutes to round up.
Okay.
Just 10 minutes.
No problem.
I hope every other person is still on the call, apart from Mr. Solomon. If you are here, please signify.
We are here. I was listening to you and Mr. Solomon. It was quite interesting.
Okay, I will cry. All right. All right. So, in project management or in any project, in any contract, we are always telling ourselves that we should be prepared to walk away if the contract is not what you can go by. You shouldn't be afraid. You should always be prepared to say, I can't do this, let me go. Because like just what we are saying, we are in a place that if a white man will make a mistake in Nigeria, is pardonable. But if you are the one and you come back to say, oh, this place is, they say, no, we can. That is why I don't even know why I gave you the project in the first place, and all that. So at that point, at the point of the contract agreement, if you know you can't do this, we always, in fact, if there's anything we stand for, it's the ability. Is it the ability? Yes. The ability to walk away. So we must, as project managers, as procurement managers, as whatever, specialty we find ourselves, we should always prepare to say no when we see that there are actions and inactions that is not okay with our character. All right? Because you can't say I am known for integrity and you want to do the right thing. Somebody is coming behind and saying, no, just do this. You can't do that. Why? I just heard a close person sharing an experience. I put a call to him. He said he was at what do they call? A ceremony where they were commissioning a new road that was built in one of the states in Nigeria, and was chatting me while they, like, I'm just here. We are commissioning that road. If you see the way we are smiling, you think that the road is nonsense. I'm using his exact words. The road is nonsense. We are just, but if you see me and the governor smiling, we are smiling as if the road is dizzy, but right within us, we know that the road is not good. That is exactly what he sent to me through chat. So I'm like, you know this, and you're still doing it. The fear of, oh, how will I survive? How will I do this? How will I do that? Will always make us to go. And do you think in the wildest imagination, even when you are doing that, you've collected your money, they are smiling that, but they know that the road, the quality is not there. The standard is not there. Do you think they will call you tomorrow again? Somebody that knows about this is ready, even in the dream, to say, don't give it to him. You see that rule we commissioned the other time, we just laughed, we didn't want to expose him. It's not a good one. All right. So we should always, as project managers, be prepared to walk away. We shouldn't be afraid to walk away when the agreement, the terms of agreement is not in consonance with what we stand for, the standard, the quality, the integrity that we stand for. So we say, know your partner. What's the partner? Best alternative to a negotiated agreement. You should always know, have the best alternative. In as much as you can't keep, returning or rejecting, proposals and all that, or say, oh, we cannot do this, but know your best alternative. Best alternative in what regard? Use the legal department. Be prepared to give direction. You should have your performance clauses, your payment and penalty clause, your contract type, your key clause, key person clause, and are they approved vendors, associated, procedures. You consider all these things. So you look at the key on deliverables. What are the keys on deliverables? Specifications are detailed and clearly defined. You don't pass this process or this stage when your specifications are not detailed enough and clearly defined, because there will be blame game. Oh, you signed it, didn't you see? I did not see well, I didn't know it's like this. Oh, I didn't check well. There's no room for that. Remember, you signed an agreement. So payment schedules are detailed and clearly defined also and followed through. You can't just make empty promise, oh, we'll do this, and then you just assume, not working in assumption, and you just do things shabbily. Everything is on schedule, everything is detailed, everything is clearly defined. For you to be a proper procurement manager or project manager that has integrity. Remember, we are talking about integrity. Even the project itself is integrity based. All right. So we look at the contract. What are you supposed to look into before that contract is signed? Be careful what you say or do. There shouldn't be any verbal agreement. Avoid that. No verbal agreement. Everything must be pinned down. Everything must be signed. Everything must be understood. So violating terms of an existing agreement is what you should avoid, because you'll be known for, of course, if anybody does say, that one don't go, this is how he does, this is this, and you keep missing opportunities. Forfeiture of agreement rights, payment request versus the payment itself, everything must be in consonance with what the agreement entails. So project manager's responsibility, which we know before now, requires planning. And what are you planning? You are planning projects, you're planning soft projects, you're planning internal and external vendors, you're planning dates, you're planning deliverables. You are defining the reporting structure, which is vendor and project organization, progress metrics that we mentioned earlier, performance metrics. You are creating and implementing status reporting. You deflate any us or them relationships. Us, I know we understand this. Like we just, decried our state in Nigeria when it comes to projects and the personnel. There's nothing like who is them, it's us. And them, say now we now. You have to avoid that in projects, even in procurement, as the case may be. You have to deflate that, because in remember, even in a common individual customer relationship case, you see that most time it is who you know. It's, oh, it's my customer, just go and collect it. I don't know if you've had experience. I've had experience, it's my customer, I will end up, because I know, hey, will not complain. I know they will have studied you, oh, you can't do anything. And they will give you substandard material, substandard product. So you have to deflate. What I mean, deflate. Do away with that. Bust it open. Any us or them relationship. correct deviations from the plan. Nobody should come and tell you, hey, we can still achieve this, even if we go this way. No. The way you stated in the contract agreement is what you should follow if you want to keep your integrity. All right. So we look at project and contract completion. We look at the facilitate the transfer of knowledge should be in original contracts. Facilitate the transfer of knowledge. What you know, oh, you are the project manager, you are the procurement manager, and you have people that are working, you say, it's me, I can't give it to them, I can't show them. Don't worry, I will do it. You should facilitate the transfer of knowledge. Let them understand what you know so that they will work in line with that. Of course, if I don't tell you that this is what to know, oh, I know that this is that, you would want to give me something that I do not know. So facilitate the transfer of that knowledge. Ensure proper closure, very important. Ensure proper closure. Ensure proper closure in terms of security, in terms of documentation, in terms of products, in terms of status of process, in terms of status of products. Very important. Make sure you have proper closure. What do I mean? Make sure all parties understand what security means when it comes to project. Documentation, the project itself, the status of the product. All right. You also, there is also very important aspect of maintenance agreement. The key person, the enhancements versus fix, the replacement versus fix, the response time, very important, as a project manager and as a procurement manager. So this is where we've come to today's class. Like I said, when we are returning, we're just going to go through and then share our experiences, our inputs, facilitate the transfer of your knowledge to others on the call, including me. I'm learning and all that. So we'll call it, a wrap for today. So I just need two or three people, if there's anything for you to add. So you just touch on that while we'll call it a day. So the floor is open for the first three people that are ready to talk to us. Mr. Ojo has been talking since. Mr. Solomon has been talking. Ambassador Precious has been talking. Tezo has been talking. And other people. I need other people's voices. I have, say 9 or 10 people on the call. Okay, 10 or thereabout. Mr. Okoro has been talking. I have a Adeshino Ala. I have a okay. Basically everyone. Okay, everyone has been talking. So I will need Adeshino Ala to talk.
10,000. Attachment.
Ms. Okoro, are you talking? I can see you're unmuted. I can hear sound from your end. I have Mr. Andrew. I didn't hear him. I've not heard him since.
Madam, you've been hearing my voice. You've been hearing my voice, but because I didn't introduce myself.
Okay. Because I like the name. So maybe you can, I want you to talk again. Let me hear the voice.
Okay.
Again.
Let me say a very big thank you to you for your time and sacrifice and knowledge shared today to inspire some of us. You have really done well. I just want to throw a little bit light based on what you've taken out time to explain to us today. As professionals, all I will just leave us with today is to be a bit more careful in the category of procurement. Procurement is actually my field, and I think I need to share a bit wisdom with us to be careful when it comes to procurement and contract management, because there are little clause that can make you, and there are little clause that can take you the other way around when it comes to procurement. Because one single mistake from your part can ruin whatever project you are working on. For example, in terms of specification, as a procurement person, you need to check with the end user per time on the specification and requirement for each of the items needed on the project. At every point in time, you need to carry out the stakeholders. The stakeholders are those that are the end users, those who are responsible, the requested units, the units that actually needs this particular item for their project. So you need to check with them so that you don't have your facility or the project like a dumping site whereby you procure things that don't meet up specification and things that don't meet up the requirement, and you end up turning your site to a dumping site whereby you just procure and abandon them. So as professionals, you need to follow the required standard and specification so that you don't end up making mistakes that will cost you the story that touches the heart. So that's my only two contribution and idea I need to share with us as professionals. Thank you, ma.
That's so professional of you. Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. All
So
right.
I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
So if you're dealing with a difficult, let's say you are running a project, what how do I call it? Let's say 1 month, you've already given specifications, procurement and the person saying to an mechanical engineer, I know this thing. Okay, let me.
Sorry, madam, please, can you be a bit audible, please, ma'am?
Oh, I think it's a network. Okay, so let me be a bit more specific. So we're trying to set up an event center. We're requesting for a 400 kVA genset, and the guy is the owner that we're trying to work for is insisting that he's a mechanical engineer, he's this,
Okay.
is that, he should not go above 150 kVA or at the 200 kVA. And you know very well that will not work. So how do you respond to people like this? In this kind of situation, people who think that they know more than, of course, you have your expert area, but they feel that they know more than you in that area of procurement. What do? Do you just listen to them and give them what they want, or what?
Okay. Thank you so very much. So I would solicit for the help of Mr. Andrew to answer that question for us, because he specializes in.
Please, ma, I can hear you very well, but I didn't get that question. I didn't get that question at all.
Okay,
I don't know if you can just summarize on her behalf, please.
Let me paraphrase the question. She is in a process of procuring items. Although I didn't actually hear, but I think it has to do with the mechanical use and all that. And then she has given
Let me say it again so that he can get the question. Say it louder. Right. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Mr. Andrew, can you hear her?
Mr. Andrew, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I said we're in the process of setting up an event center. We requested for a 400 kV event center. The owner who was setting it up for claims he's a mechanical engineer, and we don't require that number 400. That we can do 150 or at the most 200. I said in that kind of situation, what do? Do you let him have his way, or because we have tried to convince him that there are other things that you do on the genset that might draw it down, but he insists that he's a chemical engineer, that's his field. So that is what he's doing. So I'm asking, if you find yourself in that sort of situation, what do you allow him have his way over? Did you get
If I may get the question, you said you want to get some particular specification of an equipment, and
Yes.
your specification is 400, and what they said your specification is 150, and what they said is available is 400. Are we on track, ma?
I said
Can
the
you hear me, ma?
owner. Yes.
Okay.
I said what we requested for is a 400 kVA genset. The owner
Okay.
claims he's a mechanical engineer, that we don't need that number, that we can do something lesser.
Okay.
You get?
So the owner of the project is the one suggesting to you now that you
Yes,
don't
now
need up to
suggesting we
400,
don't need
that 150
exactly
could work.
could work. We could manage it. The right the keyword manage.
Because he brought the vendor.
Yes.
Okay, it's not difficult because you have such challenges in your profession at every point in time. It happens everywhere. It's just for the person to indemnify that he has suggested that he's aware that 150 will go along, and that he's giving you go ahead to procure. So if you can take that indemnity that he gave the approval for you to procure, it's a simple thing. Because in procurement, you find yourself in a situation whereby maybe the MD's brother or the owner of the project happens to be the supplier. So there's always situations like that you find yourself. But let that person come into an agreement with you, write an undertaking that they decide to give you the go-ahead to procure the 150. So it's not a difficult issue. It's something one can manage around.
Okay, exactly what I was about to say. You see, because in today's class, we emphasize on agreement so much from the beginning to the end of the class. So if you think that you can do it and you don't want to walk away, an agreement, let there be a right thing to do, and the owner of the business will say, no, I know more than you. So that when the consequences will come, he will not blame you tomorrow and you can defend yourself. Right? So to me, that is just a simple simple thing to do. If you know that the 150 is talking about and is okay by you, but also consider the risk. What would that have on your name? Is it something that you will be proud of tomorrow? We've seen situations where somebody said, I was forced to do it. They asked me to do it. And they will now say, as a professional, you would have known the consequences of this. Why did you go ahead? So you need to weigh the risk, weigh the penalties, and also consider your integrity in it. So that's what I can say. You know, what we are saying today. And in all that, in your decision, there must be a contractual agreement signed by a legal representative, and you are good to go. I hope we've been able to answer your question. I hope we've been able to answer your question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So thank you so very much for giving me the opportunity to talk to the professionals in the building. Who am I? You know, I am grateful. I'm grateful that I was able to add to your knowledge, add to what you've known before, and looking forward to having another time with you. Thank you so very much. Thank you, MGB Management and Integrated Systems. So we call it a day for today. Thank you so much and bye.
Thank you so much, madam. Thank you.
Thank you so much, madam, and everyone. Thank you so much. And have a nice weekend.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Bye,
much.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.